Hello, and welcome to another Rant Rave review. Long time no see. I've been extremely busy with work and life and sadly not writing, but maybe someday soon. Yeah. Really quick, I know I said I was going to make another extra bonus Get Caught Reading Month video about police stuff, but I didn't. It was going to be about the Citizens Police Academy that I took part in, but I didn't make it because I got busy. So if anyone really has a burning desire for me to make that video, I will do so, but if you don't care, I won't. Yeah. Moving on with our lives. Today is a rave about an amazing show and manga, and y'all should see it, or watch it, or read it. Okay. It's called Shadow House, or inexplicably, it is translated as Shadow's House, which is randomly plural and hard to say, and I will be calling it Shadow House for the remainder of the review. It's so good, you guys. Okay. Not only is it my favorite genre, which is supernatural cat and mouse, with overtones of, like, goth Lolita and Wonderland, core Alice in Wonderland, and Rose Maiden, and everything, and a mystery. It's great. Okay. Let me tell you the premise. This is a no spoiler review because you just gotta watch it. It's so freaking good. Okay. Where to begin? Basically, Shadow House is this giant mansion / complex. It's actually several mansions and a big garden. And there's this noble family called the Shadows. And they are pitch black. I wish I had a drawing. Well, the thumbnail will have the drawing. It's drawn. It's all anime art style. So it's literally they're just black with their clothes aren't black, but their skin and hair and eyes is black. And they exude soot when they're any kind of negative emotion, like anger or anxiety, etc. And each member of the Shadow House is served by a living doll that looks like a human. And the living doll's job is basically to clean all the soot that is produced by these people and to act as their faces. Each living doll is kind of like the same body shape as the shadow family member that they serve. So again, like, picture me, and then picture me as a black outline. The black outline would be the Shadow House person. I would be the living doll, okay? Yes. Use your imagination. Yeah. So it's weird, right? You're like, that's really weird. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, my friends. And that's the first reason, like, okay, my older brother often shows me different anime openings and closings, and he showed me first he told me the premise, very vaguely, and then he showed me the ending, and I was like, I'm hooked. Like, just the ending song, I was like, sign me up. Which, by the way, the ending song, I will listen to it on loop. I think when I was reading this is a review of all the show that's out right now, and all the manga that's out right now. It's not finished, which is rare for me to review something that isn't finished. But I have faith in this manga. I've read chapters 1 through 100, and during that time, I kid you not, I had the ending theme on loop. It's that good, you guys. Yeah, okay. So, that's the basic setup. And then as they, I would say that maybe the main characters are like 12, 13-ish, maybe? Hard to place, maybe 11. I don't know. I'm really bad with children's ages. They're definitely tweens or teenagers. And eventually the living dolls, usually they start out as just cleaning the room of the person they look like, but then they go out and they clean the whole house, and then eventually they have a thing called the debut, where the shadow person and their face, aka the living doll, basically have to prove that they can act as one person, and, the face will serve them well, they are a mature member of the family, otherwise, who knows? Bad things happen, obviously. Yeah. It's one of those things where you're just like, this situation is extremely suspicious. And I'll say, in the mystery, I mean, there's tons of mysteries, and there's tons of cat and mouse stuff, and some of it you can definitely predict, but some of it you're just like, oh, and even when you predict something correctly, it's still like, oh, I don't know, the way it's revealed. The other thing I love about this, so aside from the fact, where was I going with this? This is a rave. You see what happens? Okay. It's so weird. And I remember watching it and watching the premise and thinking about it, and I was like, Japan has more creativity than, like, all of America. This one show is more creative than, like, every single book that has come out this year. It just is. It's so interesting. Like, the premise, the way it's revealed. It's interesting, too, because there's some definitely tense scenes, but it's not like a thriller. It's definitely a low-key mystery. But it's also extremely heartwarming. All the characters. I should probably talk about the characters. So, the main living doll is Emiliko, and her shadow is Kate. And Kate is very, like, sophisticated, Ojo-sama type, very, you know, logical and quiet and safe. And Emiliko is just your typical anime girl protagonist who's super happy and, like, upbeat. And I love them both. I love every character dearly, and I just want their happiness, and I worry. There's one character who has, like, a giant death flag, but I won't tell you who it is, but he was like, let me wave this flag high. So yeah, I worry about all their happiness. The other really interesting thing is, when a shadow person receives their living doll, they get to name it. And they usually name it some kind of play on their own name. Kate didn't do that. Kate deliberately named Emiliko something different from her own name. But there's John and Sean, and I'm trying to remember. Patrick and Ricky. Trying to remember, my brain isn't working. Whatever. Isabel. Oh, it's interesting. There's two twins, and their names are Mirabelle and Isabel, and their living dolls are just the Bells. They're both named Belle. So it's really, and again, like, it's kind of, like, unsettling. The whole time you're just like, this is, like, there's something off, and I don't like it, and you can kind of tell parts of it, but you don't know the whole story. The world building is a real slow burn of every chapter, every episode, you learn a little bit more. It's really cool. I am just going all over in this review. I don't want to spoil anything. That's the problem. Is there certain characters who show up and you don't know what they're like? Let me just tell you, you're going to like all of the main cast. All of the main cast. I can't even say anything because it's kind of a spoiler. You'll just like them, okay? The kids. You will. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to say anything else because there's so many twists and turns and excellent and magnifique. Alright, but the other part of this review is, again, as I said, like, Japan is more creative. I was thinking of the setup of this story. It's kind of dystopian, in a way. Even though I would say it's supernatural cat and mouse, it's an obvious dystopia. You're like, this is whack. This isn't, like, there's so many problems with the way this is. And then the more you realize, you're like, yeah. I'm sorry, I have a cat toy. Cat, go. Scramble, scramble. Okay. It's a dystopia. There are characters who are in love with each other. I will say it's almost like love triangles. Let's just say that eventually there's a couple characters where the living doll is in love with, like, the living doll of another person, but his shadow is in love with, like, a different person who's not paired up with that, so it's like, I just want them all to be happy! Which, again, if this was an American thing, it would be, I'm just gonna say frankly, I've never seen an American love triangle where it wasn't super obvious who the person should go with. And the other person is just only there to create drama. Whereas in this, I'm just like, I want them all to be happy! Like, no! How can they all be happy? Yeah. And the way it's revealed, like, what's going on. I feel like American dystopias, very often, it's like, the main character knows they're in a dystopia, kind of knows what led to it, and like is a resisty from the beginning. Whereas in this, it's like, this is just the way things are. These are the rules. And then slowly you're like, even though certain characters actually do know it's a dystopia, certain ones don't. And it's a nice, again, slow burn, a slow reveal where obviously something is off, but you don't exactly know 100% how or 100% why. And then the other thing that does better than American stuff is, I feel like in American dystopias, it's very much like us versus them. Whereas, and even when it plays lip service to not being that, it still is that. Hunger Games, for example, where it's like, oh, even the people in the Capitol, like, are prisoners of the way the things are, but who cares if they melt? I did not care for the third Hunger Games book. In this one, like, obviously the living dolls are basically slaves, and there's more to it than that, and yikes. But obviously also there's some, like, weirdness going on with, like, the mistreatment of the shadow people, and you're like, what's going on? It's kind of a bad situation for everybody. What's going on? We don't know yet. It hasn't gotten that far in the manga. But again, like, it's not an us versus them kind of a thing. It's a, like, this entire situation is whack. Which is so funny because America is so, like, systemic oppression, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, if the system is whack, don't blame individuals. Like, don't punish the individual for a whack system, you dorks. Japan understands. Yeah, I am a giant weeb. Okay, where are we getting off track? We're getting off track. The music slaps. The animation slaps. The art is beautiful. The characters are great. You're gonna love it. There's a bunch of different little arcs, like mysterious arcs and fun twisty-turny arcs. There's a labyrinth. There's a labyrinth in part of it. You had me at labyrinth. You had me at labyrinth and frilly dresses. This show is 5,000% my cup of tea. Like, I don't even know. When my brother showed it to me, I was just like, it's everything I never knew I always wanted. And dare I say it, if it continues on its trajectory, it may be elevated to the 5th perfect story. I don't know, it's a hard bar, but so far there's no flaws. So far there are no flaws. This is crazy. And it's like so good so far. It has that perfection quality. If you watch my review of Happy Feet 2 to understand the difference between... Yeah. Anyway, it's a great show. It's a great manga. I would say imbibe whichever version you want, or both. I'm doing both. I'm going to watch the whole anime. I'm going to read the whole thing. 10 out of 10. Excellent. Deserves more love. Please watch it. I know it sounds weird. That's part of its appeal. But if you don't like it, the appeal, just give it a chance. It's heartwarming. It's mysterious. It's cat and mouse, supernatural, and a mystery. And you can't go wrong with that. So... Shadow House, 10 out of 10, recommend, rave, 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 rave. Okay, see you next time. Bye.